All right, welcome back. Christmas edition of The Fighter and the Writer. Chris Mannix, Sergio Mora. He's the fighter. I'm the writer. Merry Christmas to all of you out there listening, watching from our dysfunctional family straight back to yours. Merry Christmas, Sergio. People will be listening to this or watching this after the Christmas holiday. So what do you have planned on Christmas?
To unwrap the greatest gift a Mexican can unwrap, a tamale.
Okay.
Pork, cheese, chicken. It doesn't matter, man. It's just goodness wrapped up in a little corn, maize type place. Oh my God, man. I can just go through like a dozen of those a day.
It's funny you said that because my very white, very Irish parents are in town for a few days meeting their grandson for the first time. And they will have tamales on Christmas Eve.
No,
at my house.
you're gonna love this. I just picked you up right now. I got 3 dozen in the back seat. I just picked them up right now in East LA on the way over here.
You selling
I
them?
got 3 dozen. No, I picked them up for myself.
Okay.
I'm gonna let your dad have some.
Okay. Well, the point
Mannix
was...
Senior is gonna enjoy some East LA tamales.
The point was my father, who has been around the world in the military, been a police officer for a long time, had no idea what was in a tamale.
No, well, that's what's going to surprise him. So I'm going to surprise the first edition. That's Mannix.
Yeah.
The first edition of the Mannix family with a tamale from East LA. Man, I can't wait.
He will like that. He will
He
like
will
that.
love
Well,
it,
hope
I'm
everybody had a great Christmas holiday and a great New Year coming up as well. A lot to get into in 2026. A lot to get into here on this show, Sergio. We are going to talk about Anthony Joshua post Jake Paul. Now that the novelty fight is out of the way, AJ is going to get back down to business, take on some real fights. We're also going to talk about this Ring 5 card over in Riyadh on Saturday, big event, and a potential setup for a huge fight at 122 pounds. But Sergio, as we always begin these end of the week shows, winners and losers. Who is your winner of this week?
My winner of the week is Caroline Dubois. She didn't get her just due because she wasn't on the main card on the Netflix. She was just below that on the untelevised version. But I think she stole the show. From all the A-sides on that Netflix show that was supposed to just be so huge and so big, it was a big letdown from the top to the bottom. And I think Dubois on the undercard just looked great. And not only that, but she caught the attention of the girl that was supposed to steal the show, the champ, and Alicia Baumgartner, who looked good, but she didn't look as good as Dubois, in my opinion. And because of that, I think that's the next big mega fight, and she made a statement. So Dubois, the sister of Daniel Dubois, I think she and the Dubois name and the legacy continues. She had a great night.
Yeah, I agree. That was a great performance in the prelims by Caroline Dubois. It does set her up for a big fight at that weight in 2026. We talked about this a little bit last week, but one of the things that MVP has to do is to start to match up some of these women in these weight classes. That means, matching up Amanda Serrano against Ellie Scottney. That means going out and getting a Michaela Mayer for a Chantel Cameron. And that means putting Caroline Dubois and Alicia Baumgartner in the ring together. We saw the press conference, a little bit of spice between these two women. There's already a little bit of a rivalry developing. Like that fight would have to take place at 135 pounds. But if you're Alicia Baumgartner, and you've been at 130 for a long time. I mean, she won that unified championship back against Michaela Mayer. Was that 2021, 2022? A long time ago. So she's been at 130 for a while. It's time to move up in weight for a big fight. And Caroline Dubois is a big fight.
And technically, Dubois is a bigger puncher. She has a higher knockout ratio. So moving up, Baumgartner is actually going to carry less of that power that made her, the bomb. But she hasn't knocked anyone out like in 5 years.
Yeah. Not since the Mayer knockout. Not since the Terry Harper
knockout. That's almost 5 years ago. That's a long time ago. So we're forgetting the fact that Alicia Baumgartner is actually a power puncher, and especially since she failed those PED tests. I don't know if that had anything to do with it. It hit her reputation. Ultimately, she was exonerated for that, right? The PED findings or whatever it was by the
She did not
WBC.
get suspended, and she did not lose her titles.
It was a weird thing, but she did fail 2, not 1, but 2. So now the power's not there, and I think she needs to prove herself. So I think she can shut a lot of people by passing these tests, fighting clean, and getting a big knockout against a champion moving up in weight. I think she shuts everybody up in boxing if she could do that.
All right, my winner of the week, and you're not going to like this, but it's Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua. 33 million viewers watched Jake Paul against Anthony Joshua. That, according to Netflix, they were the #1 watched program. And I think it was 45 countries, including all the big ones that are out there. It wasn't a good fight. We've talked about that. Neither fighter distinguished themselves. We're going to get more into that when it comes to AJ. But 33 million viewers, Sergio, that's a big number, especially when you consider that a success for boxing in 2025 is breaking the million viewer threshold on an ESPN or a DAZN or a Sky Sports. To get 33 million people watching your event, watching your fight, not just the event. There was 15 million watching Baumgartner in her fight. 33 million tuned in for Jake Paul against AJ. That ain't bad, no matter how you feel about the people participating.
No, the event was actually a success for Netflix, but I doubt Netflix is going to want to do this again with Jake Paul after what they've seen in that ring with not only him, but the undercard that he put up together. The undercard wasn't good, Mannix. From top to bottom, the event might have been popular. 33 million, yes. Congratulations. Those numbers are great. Netflix will get half or less than that if Jake Paul does another fight because they know what to expect this time around. So, yeah, right now you can congratulate them and you can call them your winners. But I think moving forward, Jake Paul, his reputation as a boxer and as a promoter took a big hit.
Well, see, I'm going to push back on the idea that Netflix is going to bristle at doing an event like this again, because the Jake Paul-Mike Tyson event was an even bigger mess. And Mike Tyson, close to 60 years old, kind of stumbling around the ring on a bad wheel. And yet, Netflix, a year later, said yes to Jake Paul against Gervonta Davis, said yes to Jake Paul against Anthony Joshua. And one thing I've said consistently, and I've told you this and I've told others this, Netflix does not care about what happens in the ring. The only thing that Netflix cares about, two things. They care about what kind of promotion their event gets, and they care about the number of eyeballs that are watching it. So if they're getting a huge push, which they did, a lot of people were talking about, writing about, podcasting about the Jake Paul-Anthony Joshua fight. And obviously, it had a global level of interest to have 33 million people watching it. Then that, to them anyway, is going to be viewed as a success.
You're telling me that Netflix don't care what goes on in the ring?
Do not care.
They don't care that
bit.
This man in 6 rounds only landed 15 punches.
Do not give a
damn.
damn.
That he went down on his knee almost as many times as he punched.
Not a chance. They don't care.
So then we're in a different
Why
business.
do you
then.
think that we are in a different business? It's a totally different...
I disagree.
I'm not guessing here. I'm not guessing. I'm telling you, this is what they care about. This is why they're already talking about making a Pacquiao-Mayweather rematch with both those guys pushing 50.
I'm on board with them too, but I'm not on board with Jake Paul.
Look, man, it's two AARP guys.
I hang out at a lot of hotel bars.
Here we go.
All right, I mingle and rub elbows with executives all the time, TV executives.
They all work for DAZN.
No, man, I come from the TV world, NBC 20 years ago. Anyway, so I'm still...
All those guys are dead.
I still rub elbows with these successful white-collared, blue-collar, whatever, all them. Well, they are white too, but white-collared, I rub elbows with them, and I could tell you that they care about the fight. They care about what's going on. They care about the story they tell. They care about the bad publicity that is being thrown their way, because anytime you attach Jake Paul and that ridiculous show of his and how he can't fight, it also has Netflix attached to it. So yeah, they had the numbers of 33 million. It sounds great, but ultimately it's the product that sells. And if the product is not there, they're not going to want to sell that anymore.
And I'm telling you, they don't care. As long as they can generate interest. Pacquiao-Mayweather, even though you and I know it will be a mess in the ring, is a fight they'd be interested in.
I'm interested in that.
Jake Paul against Canelo?
I'm not interested in Jake.
They might
ever again.
If Jake Paul could get a win under his belt against somebody, Jake Paul will get in the ring with Canelo Alvarez, and Netflix will be interested in ultimately streaming. And Sergio, you're not just like, do you watch much Netflix?
I'm unemployed. Of course I watch a lot of Netflix. I'm at home all day. I work out and I watch Netflix.
Okay, great. How much crap is on Netflix? Like, how many bad Lindsay Lohan movie of the week type things are on Netflix that they keep doing because they do numbers? Because people weirdly will watch stupid Lindsay Lohan movies or bad Millie Bobby Brown movies. Like that's just Netflix operates in a completely different universe than everybody else.
Or rewatch great TV series like The Sopranos and The Wire and all.
That's on HBO Max. You're not talking about Netflix.
No, they just got
then
on
they
board
bought them off HBO
well,
Max.
There you go. Or rewatch movies like Al Pacino movies. Why do you think I'm always quoting Al Pacino? Because I rewatch all these movies all the time.
Don't ask me to get inside your head.
All I'm saying is there's a lot of great movies. There's a lot of great TV series, and Netflix is always putting on new stuff. And the documentary is always interesting. The crime series, man, there's a lot. So no, I'm on board with that. But boxing and this circus, I don't want to see it on Netflix anymore.
All right. Well, that's my winner of the week, regardless of what you think. 33 million viewers is a big number. Give me your loser of the week.
You know, I was going to say Jake Paul, but he got paid so much money that I can't make him the loser of the week. But whoever is backing up and not criticizing that performance that he put up, and there's a lot of them. There's a lot of people that I respect in boxing that have their own podcasts, their own television shows that are still trying to make an excuse for how good Jake Paul looked, that he didn't look as bad, that he actually won the couple of rounds, that he landed some punches on Anthony Joshua, that Anthony Joshua didn't look as good because Jake Paul didn't make him look all that good. That's ridiculous, man. I look at them and I say, I kind of quiver saying like, man, would you really be saying this in a private setting, in a private conversation? I call it like I see it, whether I'm on television or I'm, rubbing elbows at a bar with an executive.
Please stop saying rubbing elbows. I can't handle that turn of phrase anymore.
I'm going to keep it real, man. I'm always going to tell you what's on my mind and whether it's good or bad. But some people refuse to do that. And those are my losers of the week.
Who are you talking about?
There was a lot of them.
Who are you talking about?
There was a lot of them.
Give me a name.
A lot of people that I respect.
Give me a name.
People that are on television.
On television?
Yeah.
On DAZN?
No.
But on a DAZN platform?
Yes.
Did they used to work for ESPN?
They worked for.
Did they used to work for HBO?
Yes.
So you're talking
where I'm going
about our good friend Max Kellerman?
You know what? He's one of them, but he's one of many. He's one of many. I just think he
was one of them on the Jake Paul broadcast last week.
Yes.
You talking about our good friend Ariel Helwani?
I'm going.
Call their names out, Sergio. Say their name.
Look, I think Ariel Helwani, I think Max Kellerman, I think a lot of other broadcasters, people that are well respected in boxing, actually, they're getting too carried away with the praise of Jake Paul. Because if you notice, the fighters, the former champions, the guys with the dented noses and the scars on their face, none of them are praising Jake Paul. It's only the people behind the camera, the people that are actually getting paid to talk about boxing and actually boxing. So those are the ones that take it easy with your compliments on Jake Paul, because he doesn't deserve any credit.
All right, my loser of the week is going to be out of left field. My loser of the week is Martin Bakole. Now, why am I talking about Martin Bakole, you may ask? Because Martin Bakole is not doing anything. That's why I'm talking about Martin Bakole. Think about where we were this time last year. Martin Bakole was the hottest thing going. He was coming off that win in August over Jarrett Anderson. He was the boogeyman in the heavyweight division. People were talking about him being the next big thing in boxing. Now, he's the guy that took the Joseph Parker fight on short notice, got knocked out in the second round. He's the guy that came in way overweight against Efe Ajagba and fought to a draw that he should have lost in. The shine has come off Martin Bakole. I want to read you a quote that Filip Hrgović, the heavyweight contender, he said about Martin Bakole, I think it was a couple of months ago now, but it was a good quote. He goes, "Bakole, I think he was a warrior for a long time. He did one good fight. He gained like 500 pounds. He got relaxed and bought the whole Gucci shop." I love that line from Filip Hrgović, because it's not wrong. Like, Martin Bakole started to read his own press clippings, and now Martin Bakole, who doesn't have a lot of time left in this game, I think he's in his mid to late 30s. Martin Bakole is not active. Martin Bakole, as far as I know, has no fights planned. So Martin Bakole, who last December was looking like the next big thing, has done a complete 180 and is now lost in the boxing wilderness.
Well, that's what happens when, you make a lot of money. He made a lot of money against that Joseph Parker last-minute call.
Made good money and then made good money to fight a job.
What do you mean good? Right. It was 7 figures. It was last-minute, 7 figures type fight. So that...
And the Jarrett Anderson fight was big money, too.
And then getting knocked out. So those are the two things that actually end careers. Making a lot of money and getting knocked out. So, yeah, of course he's splurging in Gucci now. You know, they're probably going to bury him inside a Gucci store. That's a song, by the way. But yeah, so Bakoli's stretching out those 7 figures a long way in the Congo. You know, so yeah, let him buy land, let him buy Gucci, and he's enjoying himself. He's in his 30s now.
I know.
So he's not gonna. I mean.
But he spent a lot of time complaining about the fact that nobody would fight him.
I get it, but now he had that 1 or 2 fights where he got paid and he came up short.
And didn't win any of them.
He came up short, but he still got paid. So that's what he's in the business for.
Gained 500 pounds and bought the
and he's
Gucci
a big
store
boy.
Is a great
No,
line.
and he's a big boy. He doesn't care about his appearance or actually looking good when it comes to weigh-ins. But he was a menace for a while. He was a puncher for a while, but he just didn't have the hunger.
He's a puncher for a few months. Like, people really paid attention to Martin Bakoli after the Anderson win. Like,
I thought he was going to be the next boogeyman after that beatdown of Anderson, but no, he just didn't have enough. I mean, sometimes that happens, man. You have one good win and you think that you're better than you are, and you don't want to really prove yourself on the championship level because then money takes over your hunger, and that's what happened to Bakoli.
all right. Speaking of hunger, let's talk about Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua now 1-0 in 2025 after the aforementioned win over Jake Paul. And now he sets his sights on 2026. Joshua will reportedly begin a 2-fight deal in the first quarter of next year, which will culminate with a long-anticipated showdown against Tyson Fury. Sergio, Joshua is 36 years old with mostly low to mid-level wins over the last 5 years. This is likely the final chapter of AJ's career. How much do you think he has left?
He doesn't have that much left. He's 36 years old. He's coming off a knockout loss because I'm not going to count this Jake Paul victory on his resume because he beat a Disney star. He got knocked out in his last fight. He got knocked out pretty bad against Dubois, and that's the second time he's been knocked out on the big stage. He comes back against mid-level opposition, but ultimately he's already, in his late 30s, mid-late 30s, and you're not going to get better. You're only going to regress from there as a fighter. So he didn't look good against Jake Paul. I could make many excuses of why he didn't, but ultimately he wasn't really jabbing. He wasn't really cutting off the ring. He wasn't really going to the body early. That's the way to get to Jake Paul. So he didn't perform like a former champion, like a guy that knows what he's doing, like a former Olympic gold medalist, a guy with so much experience. He looked like a guy that was trying to figure out how to track down a Disney star. Can you imagine him against the big names, the big punchers, and the big boys at heavyweight, especially with this new young crop of heavyweights that are coming up right behind him? Anthony Joshua right now is not going to be a heavyweight champion again, but he still has a big heavyweight champion name, and he could still make a lot of money off that name. So just because AJ is not going to be the main attraction, he still has that name that he can make a lot of money and he can still headline. So they better be very leery who they match him up with next and then go straight for that Tyson Fury cash out, because I think Anthony Joshua's on his last leg.
Yeah, and I take no pleasure in saying this because Anthony Joshua for a long time was one of my favorite fighters. Like, he really captured the heavyweight division from around 2015 to 2019 when it was really in a transition phase, right? Like, Deontay Wilder was out there as a belt holder. It was the end of the Klitschko era. And along comes Anthony Joshua, the 2012 Olympic gold medalist with a big punch. He blasts out Charles Martin. He beats a whole bunch of other mid-level guys. And then that showdown with Klitschko, that was awesome. That was the defining moment of Anthony Joshua's career. But if you look at the last, 5 years, it's just all been downhill sledding for Anthony Joshua. Since 2019, when he regained his belts from Andy Ruiz, AJ has wins over Kubrat Pulev, Jermaine Franklin, Robert Helenius, Otto Wallin, and of course, Jake Paul. He has lost twice to Alexander Usyk and was knocked out by Daniel Dubois. I don't know how you can objectively look at Anthony Joshua and say that's a guy with enough left to go on any kind of title run. He is constantly changing trainers. He goes from Robert Kraken to Robert Garcia to Derek James to Ben Davison. Now he's working with Team Usyk, which is okay. He seems like he is constantly in search of that silver bullet that will get him back to that high level. And I don't think it's out there. I just think now, I agree with you. If you bring him back February or March of 2027 or 26, it's got to be against a very a hand-picked type of guy. You've got to be real careful. They're talking about that kickboxer. I don't know what that does for AJ, but if someone's going to pay you to fight a kickboxer named Rico, more power to you. You go ahead and do it. But then right into that Tyson Fury fight. I don't think he beats Tyson Fury, Sergio. There's nothing that makes me believe he beats Tyson Fury, but you got to get there.
But he has a puncher's chance, and they're both coming off losses. But to vindicate Anthony Joshua's second half of his career since getting knocked out by Andy Ruiz, he has made way more money as a loser than as a winner. Do you agree with that?
I agree with that. Because he got into the Saudi pipeline.
It doesn't matter. So by getting knocked out, hanging around.
I think you're connecting dots that don't exist. Like, if he had won, he would have gotten more money from the Saudis.
All I'm saying is you're calling the second half of his career, it's flawed, right? He's not big names, or if he is, he's getting knocked out by them. But he's making a whole lot of money in the second half of the career than the first half of his career when he was, picture perfect, undefeated, unblemished. I'm talking about before the Andy Ruiz fight. Now he's making way more money, and now his name carries more value, even though it's damaged goods. So what does it matter?
Well, we're talking about two different things. Like, I thought between 2015 and 2019, he was arguably the #1 heavyweight in the world during that stretch. I think Klitschko, even though he was older, he was still a recognized champion, recognized as the guy to beat in the heavyweight division. And Anthony Joshua got off the deck and knocked out Vladimir Klitschko. Signature moment there. At that point, I thought he was an elite heavyweight. Since the loss to Ruiz, he has not been an elite heavyweight. And nothing I've seen up until this point makes me believe that he can get back there. Go back to the trainer stuff. Like, it's crazy.
No, the trainer stuff, I've been telling you this for years.
It's crazy, man. How many new voices does he have in his head, ping-ponging around his head with ways to fight?
Look, he's not the only big name, popular, great fighter that has done that. Oscar De La Hoya had half a dozen trainer changes. A lot of fighters, especially when they come to the end of the career, they start looking for excuses of why they lost, and they want to blame somebody, so they blame the trainer. That's what happens to weak egos, guys that aren't accustomed to losing. They'll say, finally, when they get knocked out.
Has any big name guy? Let me just stop you there. Has any, like you mentioned, Oscar, and Oscar did have a few trainers at the end. Nacho Beristain was with him. Freddie Roach was with him. But he was with Mayweather Sr. for a long time. Like, that worked out. And then before that, he had, a few.
Yeah, but he's left fighters even when he's had the best wins of his career. Like when Oscar De La Hoya was with the professor. I forget his name. But
Alcazar, was that?
No, it's not Robert Alcazar. That was his amateur trainer, his first trainer. It was called the Professor, the one that he had when he beat Chavez, and that was probably the best I've ever seen Oscar De La Hoya look. He was fast on his feet. He was moving. He was defensive. He was offensive. Of course, he had the jab and the left hook, but he was throwing the right hand and the uppercuts better. But he was doing angles. I forget the professor's name. Maybe you can Google him while I'm talking. But this man is a legendary trainer in Mexico, like Nacho Beristain legendary, but this guy doesn't have the resume that Nacho Beristain has. That was the best that I've ever seen Oscar. And what happened with Oscar? As soon as he won, he left him. Why? If you had that much success with him, why would you leave? Sometimes that's not enough. Sometimes you just, a fighter goes looking for more and more and gets less and less because it's just they're searching for something that's not there.
All right. On Saturday, we are going to get the next iteration of the Ring fight cards. Ring 5 in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Shout out to our friends over there right now. Producer Bob Torrens, Corey Erdman, the whole crew from DAZN that's hanging out there over the holidays. It's an interesting card, Sergio. It's a kind of a Japanese-centric card with the two guys that are at the top of the bill. But give me the fight that you are most interested on this fight card.
Junto Nakatani. I mean, he has a huge fight being lined up, with the monster Inoue next. But sometimes that's when things can go south for a fighter, when they're already looking at something ahead of what they already have in front of them. I mean, he has the guys that he's supposed to beat, but still tough, Mexican, undefeated. So Nakatani not only needs to beat this guy, not only needs to look good, but he needs to look good enough to still make that huge fight, that huge Japanese showdown against the monster. So there's a lot of burden on Nakatani's shoulder, and they matched up these fighters really well. It's a great end of the year card. I like the fact that they're matching up, Japanese warriors versus Mexican warriors and this whole samurai theme. That whole Riyadh season is great when it comes to themes. So it's going to be a success, but I'm interested in Junto Nakatani and the type of performance that he really displays, knowing that there's a big monster payday and a monster around the corner.
Yeah, I actually think that Inoue and Nakatani are kind of matched perfectly. Like
They
Alan
are.
Picasso has a glossy record, but I don't think Alan Picasso can hang with Inoue. We've called some Picasso fights, good fighter, but I think Inoue is going to mow him down. I think the same thing about Nakatani. His first fight at 122, but I mean, look at him. He's a big guy. I can't believe he made 118 for as long as he did.
He's a tall guy.
Tall guy,
Not
like,
big.
but I think he's going to add the weight naturally just fine. I don't think he's going to have a problem in a new weight class. The fight that I'm most interested though is the 115-pound title fight that's down on the card. Willibaldo Garcia against Kenshiro Taraji. I like that fight because I think it is the most competitive fight. You know, Garcia's got some losses on his resume, but he's a tough guy. Taraji, if you watched him over in Japan, good fighter, one loss on his resume. I think that is a really competitive fight. And you mentioned stakes. Huge stakes in that fight. The winner is going to have the other piece of the 115-pound crown. Who has the other three
Now
pieces?
we're talking. See, there you
Bam
go.
Rodriguez has
Yep.
the other three pieces. So I'm anxious to see Garcia against Taraji because I think it's going to be competitive. I think it's going to be action. But when you've got that golden ticket waiting out there, because if those guys, I mean, they fight in a weight class where if Bam didn't exist in that weight class, there wouldn't be that much money on the table. But for both these guys, especially Taraji, because if you can try to lure Bam over to Japan, if, you know, with that fight, there's so much at stake for the winner.
That's exactly what Corey Erdman said this last show that we called. Corey Erdman, who's in Saudi calling this event, he said that's the fight that he was looking forward to, the Taraji fight, because of the stakes that are there for Bam and for everyone else, and to have undisputed in another weight division with so many fighters conquering all the belts right now. Bam, I mean, he wants all the champions, and that's the last lingering belt remaining before he moves up. And I think it'll be an excellent fight. Taraji is an excellent fighter. A lot of these Japanese fighters bring a lot to the table that give Mexicans issues because they're just as tough as Mexicans, just as disciplined, have excellent technique, but they have faster feet. That's why I think the Mexican-Japanese showdown when it comes to boxers meshes really nicely and violently.
Yeah. Well, let me bring it back to the top of the bill for a second, because we all know the score with the Inoue fight, the Nakatani fight. If both these guys win, they are locked in to a showdown in May, most likely Tokyo Dome in Japan. Huge event. It is the biggest event in Japanese boxing history. Japan's got some good events and had some good events. I can think of Kazuto Ioka against Akira Yagishi, which was a unification fight, I believe, back in 2012. That was a big event. This one dwarfs that. You've got Inoue, who is arguably pound for pound #1 candidate this year for Fighter of the Year, wrecking ball of 122-pounder, and Nakatani coming off a great run at 118 pounds, another popular guy. Sergio, they're going to dump 55,000 plus inside Tokyo Dome for this event. And I hope people in the U.S. can recognize just how big that fight is. It is an electric fight that, I think it's actually kind of a 50-50 fight. I think Nakatani's that good. Nakatani, to me, even though he's not a top 5 pound-for-pound guy, he is inside my top 10 pound-for-pound. He is skilled, he is strong, and when you see these two guys facing off, which I'm going to guess, just a guess, that if Inoue blows out Picasso and Nakatani wins his fight, you're going to get a little bit of face-off between these two guys in the
you
ring
have to.
afterwards. But when you see them standing face-to-face, Nakatani's bigger, taller.
He's taller, he's longer, and he has the right punches to give Inoue issues on the outside. But the thing about Nakatani, he's a puncher on the inside, and that's why I would favor Inoue in this fight, because he likes to mix it up on the inside. He's a tall fighter for that weight division, but he likes hooking. He has good hooks, left and right hooks. And when you're that tall and you give up your height and your range and you start hooking with shorter fighters, then you become the target. So, yes, I agree with you. Nakatani and Inoue will be an incredible fight, a mega fight, an internationally popular fight. And Nakatani will get issues to Inoue because he has quick feet in and out. He fights good straight, not sideways. And I think Inoue has just as quick feet, but he's more explosive and he punches, really well against hooking type fighters. So I would favor Inoue, but it's a type of fight where all eyes will be in Japan and Tokyo, and it's a mega fight. And it's about time these lower weight divisions get that type of attention, that worldwide attention where everyone's watching, and not just a certain demographic. It's gonna be everyone watching because for undisputed, and these little giants deserve it.
Gonna have to get up early though here to watch it. Like in Japan.
Get up early. I plan on being over there.
Okay, well, I don't know if you're calling that one.
I don't care. I'll find something to do to fly out there.
Something to do. One thing I love about these Japanese fights, like they're so big in their country, and they do such good numbers at the gate and in terms of the broadcast. They don't try to time things for the U.S. Like they're not timing things. You got to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning if you want to watch Inoue Nakatani. I'm guessing that's going to be the case. You know what I'd love to see on the undercard? How about Bam Rodriguez against the winner of Garcia against Taraji? How about if it's Taraji, you've got Bam Rodriguez going for undisputed at 115 on the undercard of Inoue against Nakatani. I bring this up because I was reading a great interview from Daisuke Segura, who's a great journalist working for the Ring magazine on this, and he did a great interview with Inoue. And Inoue talked about Bam Rodriguez in a way that I haven't heard him talk much about Bam in the last couple of years. He talked about it being realistic. And Bam Rodriguez, yes, he's going to go for undisputed at 115 if he can make that fight happen. But then he's going to 118 by the middle of next year at the latest. What do you think, Sergio? Inoue says he's only going to fight twice in 2026. May, that's Nakatani. Should Bam jump at the opportunity to fight Inoue in the fall of 26?
I've been saying no this entire time.
Yes, you have.
I've been saying no this entire time. And once he cleans out 115, if he does become undisputed and collect all the belts there, if he's willing to fight a monster in Inoue, in a fight that he's going to be a major underdog, and if it's for a lot of money, then I have to agree with you. I finally have to come on board and say, all right, because look, if Bam's on board, he already became undisputed at 115. He already did something great in the history books. Now it's just time to line your pockets and get that big money, that huge money, that generational money that Bam and these little guys never get. These little giants never get that type of money. I'm talking about the 5, the 10, the 15, the 20 millions. You'll never hear that money again. They have the opportunity to Japanese fans, they love these little wars, these little giant wars. So I would want that fight to happen just for it could be something new in the history books. A Mexican-American popular fighter in Bam Rodriguez against a Japanese superstar at the Tokyo Dome, that's for history books, man.
Look, we've seen some really good fights in the U.S. at these lower weight classes. We have seen the 4 kings of the 115-pound division. We have seen Chocolatito against Estrada, Sor Rungvisai, Quadras. We have seen some big fights in these small weight classes. This one would be even bigger. Bam Rodriguez has established himself as a bona fide star. Not a star at a smaller weight, a bona fide star who is capable of drawing 7,000, 8,000 fans as a headliner in Texas. Biggest global stars in the sport. A huge star in Japan, a known commodity here in the U.S. That is such a big fight. Maybe the biggest fight that these smaller weight classes have ever seen. Maybe,
because you still have, Chiquita Gonzalez against Michael Carbajal.
Look, I know you can find ones in history that
always
are bigger,
goes down as one. Because look, there were 2 big punchers. That fight panned out, and they ended up fighting more than once, and it ended up being something great for the ages. So right now, it sounds like that. It looks like that on paper, but until it gets like that on paper, can you actually say it's the biggest fight in the little weight classes?
Here's how it gets there. Like the path for Bam could not be easier. It is just lined up for him. Like, you get the 4th belt at 115. You figure out the mandatory situation with the winner of this fight with Garcia and Taraji, and you get that belt at 115. You move up to 118. And you know who's at 118? Takuma Inoue, the brother of Naoya Inoue. How about you make that fight in the summer of 2026? That's a huge fight. And then if you beat Takuma Inoue, who is not the good Inoue. He's a good fighter. He's a world champion. You give him that. But if you beat that Inoue, all of a sudden you're like, I beat your brother. Now I want you next. Like that, it is all right there. It's all right there in front of Bam Rodriguez to go and take it. Legacy, money, everything you could possibly want, basically packaged like a Christmas present for Bam Rodriguez in 2026.
Yeah, and it sells itself. I mean, my brother's keeper type stuff. You could sell that. You could package that and yeah, it doesn't set itself better. So I like that idea just as much. But I would say, conquer all the belts at 115. I mean, to be
He's got one left.
To be undisputed, that's what should be on the eyes of Bam Rodriguez and Team
It
Bam
certainly
Rodriguez.
is. It 100%
That's it
is.
right there. And then if they can't get a big name, then that's the way to go. Because that is a big name. Technically, it's not the Inoue you want, but it's still Inoue.
But it's a next step too. You get a fight at 118.
But you're still fighting Inoue.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So it makes a lot of sense.
See, you're coming
There
on
you go.
board.
I'm coming
you
around.
fought Bam Inoue for a long time. You fought it.
No, I did, but and I'm still fighting it. But it's hard to avoid there. It's
You
hard
think
to
Bam would be
avoid
that
this.
big an underdog?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and
Now,
I love
Inoue's in his early 30s now.
I love Bam Rodriguez. I love Robert Garcia. I love what they do and what they've been doing. But there's weight divisions for a reason. And even though Inoue did start up at 108, I know you keep saying that this is a monster puncher at 122 and even at 126.
Bam's a monster puncher at 115.
No, he's not a monster puncher. He's an angle puncher. He surprises you with punch, but he's not a one punch type guy. He peppers you up.
I think Fumalela Kafu would disagree with that. I think Puma Martinez would disagree with that. I think Sri Sakatso Rungvisai would disagree with that. These are all guys that have been blasted out of there by Bam Rodriguez.
Because they were older fighters, they were worn, torn, and Bam was able to do it with footwork, with angles, with surprise.
Puma's not an older fighter.
No,
Kafu's not an older fighter.
All right, well, that one was actually a pretty impressive fight, and Bam talks about highly that's been his most impressive victory because Kafu came to win. He came to fight. He had that.
Kafu came to do something. He came to use the entirety of the ring. I don't know if he came to win.
Bam says that was his toughest fight.
Yeah, I mean, look, Kafu fought a difficult style, but you were there. He used every corner of the damn ring. He was going around in circles.
I get it, but that was his difficult fight. When we're talking about, this is a man that's faced, the other kings at that weight division. He doesn't mention them. He mentions this African.
Yeah, no, it was a good fight. Look, I think Bam is a big puncher at 115. He's going to prove to be a big puncher at 118. And then against an Inoue that's getting a little bit older, a little bit more shop worn, had 4 fights in 2026, had some people saying, well, has he lost a step, has been knocked down multiple times in his career? I don't think it's that big a gap as you do.
If Bam could go up and knock someone out of 118, then you have something.
Takumi
Then you have a leg to stand on. But I don't think he carries his power up there. I really don't. But we'll see.
All right. Last thing for you, Diego Pacheco, now in line to benefit from the retirement of Terrence Crawford. Crawford, of course, retired last week, vacating all of his belts at 168 pounds. And the sanctioning bodies, they haven't waited. They are jumping into the fray, ordering world title fights, and one of them is the WBO, ordering Pacheco to face Hamza Shiraz for its vacant 168-pound title. Sergio Pacheco did not look that great in his last fight. Do you think he should take a fight with Hamza Shiraz?
He has no choice but to take it. I think Diego Pacheco's stock is going down. I'm not a buyer. I mean, you know me, I'm a day trader. Yes. So if a stock that I believe in is going down, I'm going to buy up more. So right now, Diego Pacheco, I'm buying the dip of Diego Pacheco because right now he's not hot commodity. But Hamza Shiraz is. He's the new boy in town. He's coming off the big win, knocking out the big mouth in Berlanga. But if you look at them, I mean, they're two very tall, wiry, long, power punching super middleweights. That's rare, man. Normally, you don't have guys that are 6'3", 6'4" plus with 75 plus inch reach. I mean, that is long reach, and they carry their power. So the eye test, I love that fight. But momentum-wise, Shiraz has more momentum than Pacheco. Pacheco has no other fight to go to. He needs that big fight against Shiraz, and if there's a title on the line, he has no excuses. It's for a championship.
Yeah, I think he has to take it too. I disagree with the whole momentum thing. Not to say that Pacheco has momentum after that win over Sergio. Well, he was knocked down and was forced to a consecutive fight. But I'm just not as impressed as you are by Hamza Shiraz's win over Edgar Berlanga.
No, but it wasn't just him. Even the fight with Adames, I mean,
it was bad.
It was a bad fight. It was a draw, but he still didn't get dominated.
He got a draw.
He didn't get dominated. He didn't get knocked out. He didn't get beat up and convincingly beat by Adames. And Adames is a beast.
Okay, but do you think he lost that fight?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so I just because fighter A looks bad against fighter B doesn't mean fighter A is going to look bad against fighter C. I actually think that Shiraz is a better stylistic matchup for Pacheco than Kevin Sergio is. I didn't think that Pacheco prepared properly for Sergio. I don't think he was in the kind of condition he needed to be in. I don't think he brought in the kind of sparring partners you need to train for a Kevin Sergio. Hamza Shiraz huge 160, big at 168, but not massive. Like, that's the type of guy that Diego Pacheco...
Shiraz is not massive?
Compared to
That's
Pacheco?
the biggest... No, Shiraz.
But compared to Pacheco.
Oh, no. Well, they're evenly matched.
Yeah,
but I think Hamza Shiraz is the biggest... This is a stretch here because I've seen Thomas Hearns up close and personal. This is the biggest 168-pounder I've ever seen in my life.
What's he,
It's Hamza
6'3"
Shiraz.
though? Like
no, I'm just talking about wide shoulders, muscular, tall, big. He's the biggest 168-pounder I've ever seen.
Yeah.
That I know it sounds like an exaggeration. I've never seen a super middleweight that tall, that big, that long, that strong. Hamza Shiraz is a beast at super middleweight. Diego Pacheco's tall and lean, but he's not as big as Shiraz.
Yeah, but he's got a great reach.
No.
79-inch reach.
I would love that fight. That fight will probably come down to punch resistance. Who could take a better punch? I think the harder puncher is probably Shiraz. I think the better puncher is Pacheco as far as putting them together. Not as of late, but if you go back to his older fights, he's the better puncher. Like, he twists his punches better. He probably throws the better combinations. Excellent body puncher, but as far as power goes, confidence, momentum, everything going his way, that's Hamza. And I think the time to make the fight is now.
Yeah, but if you're Pacheco, one thing I would advise him is don't take this fight for February. That's when it's being pushed right now. This is the biggest fight of your career. Hamza Shiraz has been chilling since the summertime. Like, he's been waiting, hanging out, waiting for the next big fight. Diego Pacheco just went 12 hard rounds with Kevin Sergio. He fought 3 times in 2026. He's been in camp. He's got a new trainer. You don't want to turn around January 1st and start training for a world championship fight against Hamza Shiraz. You want this fight to happen April, May. I'm sure there's another Riyadh season event it could land on. Hell, it could land in the UK, it could land in the US, it could land in a lot of different places. But if I'm Pacheco, yes, I want this fight because I think Pacheco's going to come in as a heavy underdog. People are going to look at the way Shiraz looked against Berlanga and the way Pacheco looked against Sergio and make Shiraz a heavy favorite. I'm not betting against Pacheco in this one. I still think I'm with you. I still think there's something special in Diego Pacheco against the right opponent. And I think Shiraz is the right opponent. I think that size of Shiraz is going to be good for Pacheco. I think fighting a small guy like Sergio was bad. Fighting a smaller guy, craftier guy like Trevor McCumbee was bad. If you put Diego Pacheco in against the guy that wants to bang, like we know Shiraz is going to want to bang, I'm down for that. I like Diego Pacheco's chances to win that fight.
I agree with everything except not taking the fight in February. I say put all your eggs in February. You've looked bad in your last 3. Well, you haven't looked as impressive in your last 3 fights. All the great praise that we gave Diego Pacheco is already slowly dwindling away. He needs to make something happen.
Yeah, but he went 36 rounds in 2026, and he just fought in December.
I get it, but it wasn't a physically taxing fight. He got dropped, but
it wasn't a physically taxing fight. He was getting pushed around the ring by a guy 5'8". That's as physically taxing as you get.
He needs to make a point. All right, look.
I agree with that.
One of my biggest fights came after one of my worst performances. It was when I got the draw with Alvin Ayala. My next fight was Vernon Forrest. Why? Because I knew I disappointed a lot of people, including myself. I said, what the hell am I doing getting a draw against Alvin Ayala? And then as soon as they offered me Vernon Forrest, I said, I'll take it. It wasn't about the money. It was about the pride and the championship. Diego Pacheco is going to be on that same boat because he knows he can hear all the whispering. He can hear all the criticism. He hears his own promoter, Eddie Hearn, criticizing him. Now, if Eddie Hearn brings the world championship to the table against Hamza Shiraz, you can bet Diego Pacheco signs on the dotted line.
Okay, but I can play this game with your career too because I think I know it better than you do at some points. What was the number one reason you lost the rematch to Vernon Forrest?
Las Vegas.
Well, Las Vegas, yes, but when the fight happened was a reason. You didn't have enough time. You got to training camp 5 weeks. 5-week training camp for that fight.
Yeah, but that's another story.
But no, I'm not bringing up the Vegas stuff. I'm just saying, I think if you could go back in time, you would say, I can't fight 5 weeks out. I would want more time. And I think you probably believe that if you had 10 weeks or 12 weeks, you would have beaten Forrest in the rematch.
Yeah, you're right. But see, I didn't have the leverage to actually say no. And they.
By the way, why didn't you ever fake an injury? Couldn't you just make something up?
I could have, yeah. I'm not.
How many fights did you pull out with fake injuries before?
I'm not that type of guy. But anyway, they
Golden
offered me
Boy says you pulled out of all their fights with fake injuries.
That was early in my career. And they offered me a lot of money for that fight. I was living in Vegas, and then they said, hey, we're going to pay you this amount of money, but here's the catch. You got to defend your title in 5.5 weeks. I weighed the money. I weighed the risk of injury. I went with the money, baby.
I think Pacheco's got to be smart. It's such a pivotal moment of his career, his first time to fight for a championship against a guy I think he can beat. I think it would be crazy for him to get back into training camp right now and fight in February. Push it for a couple of months, get a full training camp. You've got a new coach that you're still trying to get adjusted to. You got a new guy calling the shots in your corner. You don't want to rush into a fight against Hamza Shiraz, who has just been laying in wait, man. He's just been hanging out, waiting for the big fight. Pacheco's that big fight. He needs to be at 100% for it.
You don't know the Mexican machismo and pride. I bet you Diego Pacheco takes that fight early next year.
No, I'm white Irish. We just drink beer.
You probably make smarter decisions too, because me, I'm going straight to that fight with Hamza Shiraz. I'm Diego Pacheco, and you can bet he's doing the same.